This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com.
Monty!
Carrie Ann, good to see you.
I got the giggles today.
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
And we've
got a guest.
Twins once again.
We are. We're twinning.
Hey, we got a guest here. Hey, did you know that January is Radon Awareness Month
I
for
did
realtors?
not know.
Well, it is, damn it. And so we're going to make sure that we're communicating to our family of professionals the importance of this topic. And
it is important.
Please don't think it's not, okay? Because we're going to not only just remind everybody, but educate everybody in this podcast why radon awareness is so important. And we have with us, with Tennessee Radon Services, Mr. Clarke Hines. Clarke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thank you.
So, and I got to know this, I'm sorry, but if I'd had another son, maybe I would have named him Clarke as well. Were you actually named after Clarke Griswold or not?
I wish I could say I was, but I actually go by my middle name. So first name's Ashton. I'm kind of one of the unique ones that goes by the middle name.
Okay.
But I wish I was.
There you go.
Yeah.
But if I was, my parents never told me. So.
Okay. I mean, I just got to think, who do you know that's named Clarke other than Clarke Griswold? With an E.
With an E. It's quite unique.
Yes.
Well, we're excited. Not only is it Radon month, but it also is my birthday month here. Hey.
Birthday month.
Happy early birthday.
Yes. #29 forever.
29 forever.
Hey, I'm kind of glad I'm over 40 because life and business, you just jump in lots of deep ends when you're over 40. You just do.
Yeah,
Life's too short.
You don't let your filter go south like mine has. Connie's.
Well, you're over 70 now. So,
I'm not barely over 70. Come on now.
It goes downhill then. I'm just getting to the mid 40s. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to tell your mama on you. Your mama taught you better than that.
I know.
You got to
just
respect
joking.
your
She
elders.
just made it to the 70s. Well, actually, technically, she didn't. To surprise a gal like that who's like a Dateline detective, you have to surprise. Her birthday has to be a whole month earlier. So that was a good surprise for those that follow me on social. Wow. So happy birthday, Mama's here. Too funny. Well, we are talking about something, and I was telling everybody how I didn't really understand radon until I had this really annoying and ugly looking tube in the middle of my first home that I bought many years ago. And I was like, get rid of that. It's in the middle of my garage floor. They gave me this extra space. I'm like, chop that down. And then I realized it was for a purpose. Too funny. So let's talk all things radon.
You just thought that was a renegade tube that popped up out of the country.
I was like, this is not going to work for me here. However, my friend here, Clarke, was telling us that the world has changed in more of a positive manner to help the divas of the world, that now it's all encaved, or what's the word?
Right. So what they do now is in a lot of pre-construction in some counties, and hopefully soon it is statewide in most new builds, even in commercial buildings as well. So what we're doing with a lot of the builders and plumbers is making sure that passive systems are installed. So what that is during the framing of the house, when plumbing stacks and electrical is being put up, they run a plumbing stack. That's pretty much a passive system. It's labeled. It runs from the either crawl space or sub-slab all the way through the interior up into the attic. That way, if a home, when it's bought, sold through a real estate transaction, they do a radon test. We come in, do a radon test, and then all of a sudden, if it's high, we come in. Instead of putting this huge pipe up on the exterior of the home, all we have to do is come up in the attic, cut a fan in, and you have a house that's being mitigated.
Love that.
So, Clarke, before we get into that part of it, so can we talk about why, as a consumer or why, as a real estate professional, should I be even interested in the topic of radon? I mean, tell me. I know you guys do a lunch and learn on the topic, which I think is awesome, and I do want to have you in sometime so that we can really do the topic justice. Because this is what I know from personal experiences is that it's kind of out of sight and out of mind. We don't think about it. It doesn't, wave a red flag, or it doesn't cause you to start coughing when you walk in if it's, or smell like gas or those kind of things. Why do we want to, as a true professional, remember we're always trying to differentiate our real estate family and those watching this podcast, that there's a difference between a realtor, there's a difference between a professional. I shouldn't even say realtor. Realtor is a professional. there's a difference between an agent and a real estate professional. Okay, so let's make sure that we are on that side of the coin, that we're a real estate professional, and so we're taking care of, what does a real estate professional do? They take care of their clients as good or better than family. So they want them around a long time. Okay, so how do we make sure? We make sure the home is healthy. And so let's talk about your knowledge from the standpoint of why does a consumer, why does a realtor want to know about radon, and then we'll talk about how to get rid of it, okay?
Well, the biggest thing that I feel like in a real estate transaction, when a radon test is done, most of the time, if the homeowner hears about radon and they're unaware of it, if you dive down that rabbit hole, you're going to be sold that fear factor of radioactive cancer and death at the end of it. So a lot of the times when people hear those words, they want to avoid radon tests, especially real estate agents, because they don't want to alarm the homeowner or say, hey, there's a radioactive gas in here. It's a snowball effect, because if there's high radon, then you got to deal with mold, and there's just a whole bunch of other things that could cause issues, and radon is typically one of them, because if it's an invisible gas, if you walk in a house and they don't even know it's there, why would you raise that question to test for radon if they don't even know it's there?
Because you want to live, probably.
Exactly.
So what is it about? I mean, can you break it down? So radon is something that's just takes a place in the earth, naturally, or. And
you were saying Tennessee there's quite a bit of it.
Right. So Middle Tennessee, and on our website as well, and on the EPA's website, there is a zoning map that shows you necessarily what the hot counties are. They're just labeled in red, which does not mean that those counties, every house has high radon, but it just shows a potential for high radon. So that's map on the EPA's website is a very good locator of where you are and what the potential of radon is in your home. But radon is an invisible, senseless gas. It's radioactive, it's naturally occurring, and any home can have it. It doesn't matter the age, foundation type, location, any home can have it. Most homes, you want to say, okay, a basement home's underground, it's going to have higher radon levels. That's not the case. Any home can have it.
Yeah, I was sharing with you before the show started that, a couple years ago, 5 years ago now, Connie and I bought a home in Brentwood, and we had it checked out, and there was no radon. And then 2 years later, we had it, we sold it, and all of a sudden the radon went from like 3 to 10 or something like that. It went significant. And it's like, how could that be? And I confronted your owner of your company, and I said, how's that possible? Or did the people lie to us before, or was it a bad not inspection, but what they do in determining that? And he said, no, there's a lot of construction happening around Middle Tennessee. That could be it. And then we said that, I thought, we had jackhammers down in our crawl space, a contractor, and they were opening up my crawl space, took 20 tons of dirt out of that. And I wonder if that he goes, absolutely. That's probably, now you've disrupted the shell there. And that's probably what has happened.
Well, looking at this map, right, and if you kind of see where you see yellow, orange, red, yellow, red, orange, the reds are all in the up and coming new construction build areas. Yeah. So you've got your Knoxville section, the city, and then you've got the Middle Tennessee area, right? Which really has most likely has a lot to do with the construction piece. So possibly all the counties that we all live in are in red, just so you know, which is it's what it is, right? I mean, we want to know. And is the test required? Is it a Tennessee required test? No,
we do have to let people know that they should, consider all kinds of tests, to bring it to light. But the reason why I asked Clarke to come on here today is because, again, it's that out of sight, out of mind thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And here's what happens. Here's what happens if you don't do an underlying conviction of mine is the best defense is a better offense. What's the better offense? The better offense is be proactive on the topic rather than reactive on the topic. What I'm saying is, for instance, if you are going to a listing appointment, there's a good chance that there's not a mitigation system in it, and it's a better idea to go ahead and have the radon checked than it is to wait until there's an offer on the property and then flip a coin as to whether or not that buyer is going to accept a home that now has to be mitigated, because now there's a bigger spotlight on it. Is that true?
True.
Clarke?
Yep.
So, but if it's already been taken care of, hey, it's already been taken care of. It's not a big deal. It's like It's like not worrying about termites because there's a termite tree warranty on the property. I think is how I would look at it.
But just going off that, in the just radon testing of things, you can buy a test off Amazon. They vary from $150 to $400 depending on if you just want a radon test or VOCs and humidity and all that, that you can find on different types of tests. But even the government gives away free tests for radon.
Okay.
So you can test your home on a pretty basic scale from the state, just getting kind of just a ballpark number of what those radon levels are on a short-term scale. But
what do you guys charge for a radon test?
So for our test, it's called a CRM test. It's a continuous radon monitor. It runs for 48 hours, and they run at $150. So that's our test. So it's a quick, easy test.
There's nothing
just
to talk about on that. I mean, if they're knowledgeable about it, why would they say no? I don't want to know about it.
Right.
Why would they say no? I'd rather not go down that road for $150, and I'd rather take a chance that the buyer doesn't check it out as well. What if you don't sell the house, and what if the radon is high, but you didn't know about it because you don't want to spend $150? I just.
And it kind of boils down to a peace of mind thing. Everybody I feel like has that. Even if some people want to overlook it and say, you know what, I'll be fine. I've done other things and I've lived through it. But radon is something where if you have
a cumulative effect, right?
Right. So if you have mold in your house over a few days or weeks, you could show symptoms of it. Radon won't do that. Radon takes it's years down the road.
Similar to my grandmother passed from it, asbestos. Like you in the 70s, right? It was a thing, but she didn't show signs of it until 70 years old, type of thing. So
it's kind of like probably smoking, maybe.
In a sense, I mean, it affects everybody differently as well. So some people smoke for their entire life and fight war, and they live to 105. And then same with radon. Some people can be in a home that they live in for 35 years and have high radon, and it doesn't affect them in the same sense as somebody that grows up in a home or goes to school in a place that has high radon. That's why even on a commercial scale, thinking of radon and testing in commercial buildings, whether it's a school building or a workplace, and just making sure everywhere that you're spending most of your time, you're somewhat of aware of what those radon levels could potentially be.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be truthful. I haven't even thought about it until you walked in to the podcast, right? I mean, I think it's out of sight, out of mind. You just don't think about it. But when it comes to cancer, you don't think you're ever going to get it until you're the one, right? And so if we can make sure that we're all protective for anything down the road, we want to definitely do that. So let's talk about, there's different levels of radon.
Correct.
So share the different levels.
Yep. So in a real estate transaction, the goal
every home, to piggyback on what you just said, every home has some radon in it, right?
Potentially, yes. I mean, there's no such thing as zero radon. So you're never going to go to a home and it's just going to be zero. That's why you mitigate radon, not remediate. Like you can remediate mold. You can eliminate mold. Radon's always going to be there. Even if you have the most efficient mitigation system and you're getting those levels to as low as they can go, if you have a huge thunderstorm that comes in, or if somebody puts in a, Walmart and a 5 car dealerships, all that construction blasting and all that movement of the soil is going to cause that fluctuation in level. It's going to create more radon through the soil. Bedrock is going to crack. Radon's going to increase. So no such thing as zero radon. But the biggest thing I feel like is, I kind of went on a wild goose chase there.
Okay, so the level of radon that's a concern is anything higher than what?
So 4 is your concern. So anything that's above 4, mitigation is recommended.
What does
4 picocuries is how it's measured.
So it's 1, 2,
3, 4, and so on and so forth.
And it goes to 10? What's it go to?
Oh, it can go as high as thousands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it can go, the sky's the limit.
4 is high.
What was the highest you've seen?
The highest I've seen is 187.
And then 4 is high and 187? Yeah. Oh, Lord.
So they can vary.
Get me out of that house.
And that was a new construction?
And that was a new construction. It was about I want to say 6 month to a year old home.
Wow. Right here in Middle Tennessee?
Right, Middle Tennessee. And then up in, Kentucky, I've seen 113 in Elton, Kentucky. So, and that was a little bit of an older home. But just going off, you can see an old home that was 113 and a brand new home that was 180 something, right? So just going off, no matter how old or what foundation type, there's always that potential.
So kind of going back to what you said, Monty, no signs and then signs, right? So is it a peak and valley situation?
Right. You're always going to have consistent fluctuations of radon. That's why even on short-term
48 hours when you test it, right?
Right. So in a real estate transaction, whether it's through us or another radon company or a home inspection agency who does radon testing as well, on a short-term basis, if you're testing in a thunderstorm or if it's snowing or whatever it may be, you're going to get those fluxes pretty much a higher level. So sometimes those tests can be manipulated by the weather. That's why we always recommend long-term testing. But we do understand for a real estate transaction, it is kind of a time-sensitive matter. You kind of got to, get that ball rolling. So we do understand that, and that's why just having an understanding of saying, okay, even if you had a short-term test that came back low, as long as the homeowner is aware that says, okay, well, we had a high test, we'll get a mitigation system, but let's keep testing. Let's, take the initiative and maybe buy a test of our own. That way that they can increase their knowledge. And that's why we think that real estate agents, it's very important that they have somewhat awareness of what radon is and how it fluctuates and how it gets in homes and being
so they
able
can
to
better
inform.
manage things.
Yep.
The best defense, again, is a better offense.
Right.
The better offense is being aware of it, being knowledgeable about it, and preparing your clients to not freak out if they choose a home that ends up having it high, long as a company like yours will come in and do the mitigation. There's nothing to be afraid of.
And are you ever going to find it in a condo?
Oh, yeah.
You can. Going off that, so radon is a heavy gas, right? So when you think of a gas, you just think it floats up. Radon is 7 times heavier than air. Well, fun fact for you. So whenever you look at a condo that's 10 stories high, your highest level is going to be on the lowest level. And each level you go up, it could decrease.
So getting a test for a condo is still something you would want to do. I gotcha. Okay, so now go ahead.
I'm going to say, so Clarke, tell me this: I'm hesitant to trust going online and buying a test deal because I can get that for $50 rather than having a professional come and do it for $150. I'd rather spend the extra $100 or whatever the numbers are. And to be totally transparent, one of the reasons why I hadn't given it a lot of value in the past until we found out we were living with high levels of radon was that back in the day, there was such a discrepancy between test kits, because back in the day, there weren't companies like yourself that were really focused on that. You can pick up one at Walmart or something, a test, and you get one day and it's at this level, and you get another day and it's that level, and it's like nobody believed it because it was so erratic, in its belief. So you mentioned a minute ago about if a home inspector's got a radon kit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it does, again, it kind of seems like it's important to stay with a company who really focuses on that. I mean, that's your number one thing, right? Right.
So, we do cover everything from testing in commercial and residential and mitigation in commercial and residential. Sometimes for convenience of things, having a home inspector do it, we do understand that. And that's why a lot of the time we like to reach out to home inspectors and make sure that they are using the same type of test that we are. So we can recommend them. There's a bunch of home inspectors in Middle Tennessee. Yeah. And many of them are great, but we like to make sure that whoever is calling us to, prefer us to be a preferred, mitigator, they have a trusted test, right? They're not using some, knockoff test that we are aware that, okay, they're using this test, it's approved by the EPA or NRPP or whoever they're going through, that they do have a, approved testing device.
Very good. Okay, so now I'm at a 4 or 5, hopefully never over 100. And now I don't have a system to mediate it. Is that the word? So you're going to do that on a home that I've lived in for 10 years, let's just say. I'm making all of this up because I possibly have it. I don't know. I'm going to go check when I get home. But what's the cost to do something like that?
So just ballpark pricing for mitigation, it can vary on the foundation type. If you just have a basement or slab on grade home, you're probably looking around the $1,500 range.
Okay.
Just for ballpark. For crawl spaces, if a vapor barrier is needed, if you don't have an encapsulation or an old plastic that's in there that needs to be removed, you can probably look at about $1 to $1.25 per square foot, just depending on the condition of that crawl space. So it can vary with a crawl space home from anywhere from $2,500 to $4,500. But that all is kind of, playing in part of how large is the crawl space.
So I guess my question is thinking back of the home that I lived in before and I made them cut that, a pipe out. The pipe only went into my garage. So isn't the pipe supposed to go out? Or is the vapors going into my garage?
Are you saying it was coming out of the garage floor?
Yeah.
Well, that was probably the low spot, maybe, I guess.
Right. Was it a garage slab and you had a crawl space home? Or
no, it was slab with the garage,
Well, sometimes and not every passive system is installed correctly. Granted that I've seen plenty that have been installed incorrectly. So sometimes you'll get to a house that has, a pipe that's just tapping into the garage slab and you're like, well, it's just in the garage, not the rest of the home. So it could have been installed incorrectly, or you could have had another pipe that was hidden through an interior wall. Because most of the time they are hidden through a, utility closet wall or something like that.
But the goal is for it to get out of the house.
Right.
The exit of the pipe should be out.
Right. Okay. Right. So just going off that, like if we're putting in a system that's on a house that's already finished, most likely it will be an exterior system. You'll have that piping on the exterior with the fan. But passive systems, everything is internal. So just as you see like a plumbing stack that'll discharge through the roof line, same with the passive system. It just it looks exactly like a plumbing stack.
So when you guys came into our place, we had a crawl space at the time, and you actually did suggest that we get a new heavy, thicker underlayment. What do you call it?
Vapor barrier.
Vapor barrier.
Yeah.
And so you guys pretty much sealed the whole crawl space, and then put that little blower on the end of it, but you guys ran it on the side of the fireplace, so it wasn't really noticeable from the street. You did try to position it so that it wasn't really noticeable.
So those that don't like PCP pipe just hanging on the side of my home, do you have aesthetic?
PCV, I think it's called.
Whatever it's called. Like I just think of I just see
I'll hold you to it.
White thick piping. Do you?
It's not that big. What is it? 4 inches?
So we use 3 inch. You'll
3
see
inch.
plenty of mitigation systems that vary between 3 inch or 4 inch. We use 3 inch because we try to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible, like hiding it behind.
Do you have like black or is it all white?
Yeah, you can paint the pipe.
Yeah, you can paint it. You can
painting
paint
the
it pink
pipe
if you want to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's got to be more people like me going, do not put in no white pipe. Even to save my life, I might risk my life for
No. You don't want to do
attaching
that.
a white pipe.
I want to
attached.
challenge you, Carrie Ann. I want to challenge everybody watching this to reach out to these guys seriously
Yes,
for
I am.
$150. I mean, seriously, what's there to talk about?
Hey, and I'm going to be upgrading their piping too.
There you go.
We're going to work together if I'm over
Well, you put
number
a blonde
4.
wig at the top of it or something?
No,
What-
I'm
what
just
do you
saying,
do?
like, I want it to look like my black gutters is what I'm saying.
Right,
You know,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have a certain-
matching downspouts.
You can paint that
We're all
before.
about
They'll
that.
paint it before they install it.
Yeah, I want
Absolutely.
everything to look, nice. If you're
uniform.
going to work that hard to have a nice looking house, you won't not just attach
your
it to
house
save your
especially.
life.
I mean, it's amazing.
Well, it has black gutters. It doesn't have white gutters. Too funny. We're just grateful that you are here with us, Clarke.
Yeah.
Tennessee Radon Services. How does one get in touch with you to get the test?
Yep, so you can either go to our website, which is Tennessee Radon Services. You just look up Radon, we'll pop up. Our phone number is 615-788-3343. All of our
Say that
email
one more
addresses.
time. 615.
Yeah, 615-788-3343.
Okay, very good.
And the website again is
Website is just Tennessee Radon Services.
Tennessee Radon Services.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing that's great blogging information for the real estate agents out there, knowing that January is Radon Month, Awareness Month. So I think that's great. You can educate for the folks that are not as familiar. So there's a lot as a real estate agent you can do to help improve and educate more about it. And you do some CE classes or just lunch and learns?
We do lunch and learns.
Yeah.
Lunch and learns, sales meetings. We do, any expos that we can, get to just to meet.
Just to share the word, and educate more. So that's great. Well, thank you again, Clarke, for
Absolutely.
being with
Thank
us
you all.
here.
It was a
Great
pleasure.
job. Great job.
And thank you, everybody. You've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.